Welcome, Natalie, to the Lessons of a Lashpreneur show. Hi, doll. How are you?
Hi.
All
All
right,
good.
tell me where you're from, the size of your business, and your business name.
So I am from Chandler, Arizona. The Lash Capital is my business. It's myself and four other lash artists now. So
All
yeah,
working underneath you.
yeah.
So talk to me about your journey getting to the point of owning your own business and then even hiring a team. Like what inspired that journey?
So I've actually been a lash artist for 18 years. So a long time all by myself. And honestly, it just got boring being in the room by myself. I wanted community around me. Also just I'm getting older and needed help with my clientele, honestly. So, decided to build out the salon here and it's been amazing, but I felt like I was definitely getting to a point to where I didn't know where to go. So that's why I seeked out your program and it's been a game changer, honestly.
Love it. We'll get into all of that in a second, but I want to go back to Natalie before the mastermind.
Mhm.
You've had three team members at 50% commission,
Yes.
and they were legally structured. So she did W-2s, but there was a lot of flexibility. So kind of tell me what your experiences were, both pros and cons of having that high commission based pay and what your experience was with the team that was just not ideal.
So I had no structure as far as the hiring process or anything like that. I was just winging the whole thing. Did not know specifically things I should be looking for other than really like their experience with lashes was what I knew to go off of or thought to go off of. Um, and that has now with what I've learned and that's starting to things are changing and there's just a big difference with all of that. So yeah, I don't know.
So some of the things that we've talked about, so for context, she has hired one team member now based on the process that we teach inside of our accelerator program and also in the mastermind. So she's having the comparison of a team member who was hired with intention through a process based on mission, vision, and values, and comparing it to the other team members that were not hired on a process. How did those other team members, how did you find them? How did they find you? How did they end up getting the job?
So I posted an ad um the way that I knew how. My ad was placed through Indeed and just again winging it how I knew and got some applicants, asked some questions that I felt like were valid questions.
When can you start?
Yeah, do you know how to hold tweezers? Like, yeah, you know, but there has just been like there was nothing that I was looking for outside of really their experience.
Yeah.
I wasn't diving into character and different things that were important to me and things to have that I wanted to have around the salon. So now I'm knowing that those are very important and changed the way that it is in the environment here. And it's night and day difference.
Okay, so let's talk about some of those things. And this is not to say or disparage any team members because you have some great team members. It's really looking at the contrast of hiring with intention of what you're creating and where you're taking the business versus being kind of unintentional about it and just whoever ends up in the business ends up in the business. So tell me what you've noticed about a team member hired based on a process versus those that weren't. Like, what are some of the biggest distinctions you notice?
Um, like the the drive and the want to be here and the want to please and the hunger for it, honestly, there is a complete difference. Um, they want a place where they get to feel like a team and it's totally different.
So what's interesting is I'm now just remembering when you posted it in the group, this is like right after you joined the mastermind, and you were so
Mhm.
afraid and resistant to go through and post your hourly rate job that was perceived to be much lower than what was being like pushed out there, like the 50% commission.
Yeah.
So can you walk me through the fears that you had and what you were seeing in like the local Facebook groups that you shared about?
Oh my gosh. I was seeing left and right. People were like, bashing people wanting, salons paying X amount of dollars. And can you believe that they're not paying this and that? And I mean, it's such a, like, I feel like it's all like an ego thing for them or something. Like, it's like they feel like they need to be paid a certain amount of money, but yet they're not willing to work for it. And it's crazy. And now I've got this new person at a profitable rate, and she is far exceeds what I've been doing at a very, very, very high rate.
Correct.
And it's crazy to see the difference, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's
So
because of the steps that you go through and learn about how to find these people.
yeah. Because it's hard to find them. They're needles in a haystack. We call it like A players don't work for B leaders. And in order to get that type of player, it's not just about the money. And it's so hard for people that are so locked in on money to get that. But
Yes.
we're hiring for building out a team culture, which has a far greater impact on retaining employees than pay does. So we mentioned this. We just had our coaching call, which they get in the mastermind, a one-on-one coaching call. And we talked about that employee compensation is always a conversation around employee retention. And there becomes a point when we can't pay them anymore to retain them, that we could replace them with somebody who's much more profitable. And you're starting to see that because every hour that your new team member works, well, yes, you're paying her hourly and it costs you the money that she is profiting the business because you've done it in a way that by design, she produces profit, is why we have businesses in the first place.
Totally.
But also she has a greater attitude, right? She doesn't have this chip on her shoulder that I deserve and I do this. And, like your other team members, for the most part, don't seem to want to stick around, which means you can't build a team culture without team members that aren't there. They're stuck in a treatment room and then they leave. There's some entitlement that starts to happen when they're paid so much, and then they're going to want more, right? Because they're, with everything costs increasing, inflation increasing, they're going to want more, but there's not more to pay them with. So
Right.
really retaining them when we're paying them the most.
Right.
Whereas with this newer team member, you have all these possibilities of performance-based incentives, team retreats, continuing education, growth and opportunities. Like that's what feeds a hungry team member, is those types of opportunities and growth when they
Right.
want to work.
Right. I'm excited now, honestly. Like it's gotten to a point, like you said, that you're kind of topped out, or you're at the top of what you can offer for these 50% commission people. There's nothing else I can do for them. I can't do the retreats. I can't do all of the, continuing education stuff. And I'm not like, I want a fun place where we get to have those things. That's a huge benefit. And honestly, I'm bored, and I want more for the girls coming in, and also for myself. Like I want this environment where we all are like growing, learning, and I'm able to provide that now with the pay that I have for my new people coming in. So I'm very excited about the direction that's headed.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that before, because as a creative, as most of us are in this beauty world, and when you start to get out of the treatment room, some of that artistry kind of
Yeah.
starts to go away, because now you're in the business technical side of things and the admin and the management. But to your point, when there's funds left over, now you get to get creative of how can we spoil the team? How can we have more fun times? You get to be
Yes.
creative with your leadership.
Yes.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that before. Thank you for
Yes,
that.
I love that part of it. I love all the little things that you get to do outside of it. And I'm excited to be able to do that more with the girls coming in. So
Beautiful, beautiful. So talk to me about, we've talked about your husband. He was on the initial call when we talked about this program. And I love it when partners join that are supportive as far as like you wanting to reach your goals. Sometimes we get some weird controlling stuff, and that's fine. To each their own, but they don't tend to, men in those worlds that like to control don't tend to like me, because I require them to be on the calls, because if they're going to make decisions for their partners' businesses, they need to be a part of the conversations, and they don't want to do that. That was not the case with you guys. Talk to me about what he's witnessed and experience of you on this journey, because you've been in the program about 4 months now. So time for you guys to have conversations about this. What do you notice about him and the conversations you guys have about the business?
I wish he was here on this, because he'd be so good for you guys to see his point of view. He is so excited about the possibilities of what this can and really should be, because we have an amazing place here. It just was me not knowing how to grow it or what to do from here. And he is so excited about it. Like, he's like, he definitely has seen a difference in me. Like I would come home, I mean, I would call him and be like, I'm going to work today. You know what I mean? Like it just got to this place and I have that fire again. And so does he. It like trickles down. And I'm just so excited to have this grow to what I know it can be. Like I know it can be. And I could not, honestly, could not have done this without this program 100%.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
So thank
Well, tell me,
you.
think about that. Like where do you think you'd be had you not taken the leap? Because it's
No,
scary.
I was
Like,
literally ready to guess go back to my space by myself because it just wasn't, it was like it wasn't worth it. You
yeah.
know, there was no real benefit to it, honestly.
And so what
Uh,
lights you up about it now?
what's that?
What lights you up about it now?
What lights me up about it is that I am going to create this amazing place with this amazing team around me that is so excited to be here. And the culture that we're building excites me so much because I haven't had that. I haven't had that. And that's what I wanted. And I thought that I was able to create that. Um, but I needed some guidance for sure. And it's now headed in that direction. And that is what I'm so excited about.
Take a minute and brag on your newest team member and kind of like what you experience with her so people have an understanding of what it looks like in action to have a team member that's hired with mission,
Okay.
vision, and
First of all, she, let me remind you, she's at a much lower pay rate than the
under
girls.
20, right? Something under 20.
She's under 20 and she is so thankful to be here. Like she feels like it is such a privilege to be here in this space. And that means so much to me. Like she wants to please, she wants to get it right. It's amazing when you find that person and you hold out because the trick was waiting for the right person because, you know, in the beginning when you had us putting out the ads and I wasn't getting, they weren't coming in. I was like, what the heck? Am I going to just have to like, but you got to wait and you will get the right one and just follow the rules. You just follow the rules of this program and I promise it happens. And
Yeah.
it's so good when it does. Yeah.
Yeah. It's that whole hire slow, fire fast. So what she's kind of referencing, I think, is the hoop. Is that what you're talking about? The hoop.
Hmm.
So we
Hmm.
teach to a certain hoop that people have to jump through in order to
Yes.
apply. And it is by design. It is meant to weed out most of your candidates. And it takes a whole lot of work off of your plate to try and like figure out like, is this person a good or not? It's genius.
Yes.
But it can limit the number of applicants you have, which is fine because we're not actually trying to hire 70 applicants. We need one.
Yep.
So that's what can make such a difference maker even before you've ever taken any time to interview someone on who is really interested in this job. It also has to do with our job description is very beefy, right? It's very long and it explains a lot about what the job is because you're trying to sell your job opportunity to them just as much as you. And so it can weed out people that are just looking for to get paid the most, right? And we very
Totally.
clearly on our job descriptions put what the hourly rate is. So there's no like people coming in assuming they're going to get paid buku bucks. They apply and they know what there's like transparency in what the pay rate is. So,
Exactly.
okay. So talk to me about, where do I want to take this? What's been your favorite part of the program? Let's do that.
My favorite part has been honestly okay, first of all, I had no idea what the finances, right? Like I can move money around pretty dang good. So I've been doing that for a couple of years and it was just working. So I'm like, this is working. But there is so much power in the knowledge, like the data that you say, because you can't argue data. So once you know what you know, there's no turning back.
Well, it takes
Um,
feelings out of running a business too. Like we went through and we looked at before you ever hired, what ranges could we do that would still get you to your profit goals? Then we just spent almost an hour talking through how do we strategize trying to keep her current team, but move them over to an hourly rate and testing out different hourly rates to find the sweet spot of still being able to be profitable with consistent hourly pay, but also trying to retain the team member and finding that sweet spot. So now
Right.
you can have those conversations with those team members, knowing what you can afford to pay, knowing, trying to keep them, but also knowing it's okay if they don't accept because you're going to replace them with somebody who's far less.
Yes. So I just feel like the knowledge, the power in the knowledge, um, is huge. Like that's everything. Once you know all of that, you can make decisions that aren't as scary because now I know, if I lose this person, it's not that terrible because it's not, you know what I mean? Like you can just move things around without it being the end of the world because you actually know the facts. So that, and then, also, I'm proud of myself for just like trusting in you and following the process because I'm somebody who likes things right now and I want to rush it. And so I've had to hold back on like having conversations that I wanted to have or making changes that just to rush it. But I'm like, nope, like follow the plan. And it's just all working and it's really cool to see.
Yeah. It's like having a strategy for your business. Weird. What's
I
that?
know. Who knew?
I love it. And that's
Yeah.
really what we spend our time doing on these coaching calls is like, what is the main problem we're solving for? And for you guys to even see, like, how do you solve for problems in business rather than just going off of feelings? You'll notice
Totally.
all of our coaches, we're like, okay, what's the data point we're solving for? How do we find a data point? Let's go get that data point because then we have something to actually track. Right. Because you'll say, like, I feel like I just hate my team right now. And it's like, okay, but what specifically is it? Well, great. They're doing fine on sales, but we're not really making all that much profit off of them, but they're not showing up. And then I can't get them booked because they're not showing up. Like now we have problems to solve for. But when we just go off of feelings, you probably would have canned these girls as soon as you hired the new one. And that wouldn't have been productive for
Oh,
your either.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's do this. Let's do a piece of advice that you would give Natalie of 5 months ago, if she's sitting on the fence thinking like, wow, I really want to do this, or I want to go down the path, or I want to hire, or, I need help with my business. What advice would you give her one way or the other, to start to consider a decision of like investing in a program or getting some coaching?
So I'm a huge believer in like things are put in front of you for a reason. And if it keeps being put in front of you and bugging you and it's like an itch, it's it's the universe. I believe in that so much. It's the universe putting that in front of you for a reason. And so my advice would be to trust that. And, like even the best basketball players in the world need a coach, so no matter how great you think you're doing, you still need a coach. And I would just say like, trust your gut with this. And if it keeps coming up, it's for a reason. That's my little piece.
Oh, I love that. My
Yeah.
coach used to drive me crazy when he'd say that, but he said, leap and the net will appear. And I'm like, that sounds terrible. Why would you leap with the no net? But to some extent, if we're looking at the universal or, whatever belief system people have, I also abide with like the universe gives you things and no directions before it starts screaming at you.
Yeah.
That there isn't information that you need to know on the other side of the decision. The first step is the decision. The first step is the action. It is the action that creates the clarity and the progress, not having everything perfectly figured out and knowing how you're going to get out of every single problem. But it's like, I think there's a problem I need help with. And maybe this is just one step of asking for help.
Yeah.
The next step will appear. Right.
Yep.
Beautiful.
100%.
Oh,
Yep.
that's good. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey. We're not done yet. Not even halfway through this program and we're already here. So
Yeah.
love that win. So if you guys have any other questions about building a team, hiring a team, we do have my Build a Team, Live Your Dream Masterclass coming up. Registration will be opening up May 1st. So you can head on over to thelashpreneur.com/build a team, starting May 1st. But otherwise, we'll have more details on that program coming up very soon in that class, totally free, again, happening in May. And thank you, Natalie, so much. We're going to see you at the here very shortly, and we're going to have fun in Nashville.
Yay.
All right, y'all. Until next time, have a good